Hey guys, it's been a while. A little coffee-ish talk. When I say ish, this is some coffee, excuse me, that's been sitting in my car in the garage for God knows how long, but still good. My espresso makers, both, have bit the dust. One of them was still under warranty, thankfully. Then I came up here to our other house and the other one bit the dust. It was pretty funny because it's making this very weak, strange tasting coffee. I thought it was bad capsules. I finally called them yesterday. They lead you through the whole, like, turn your phone into a camera that we can lead you through a million steps. And she looks at it because I held it up to, like, the window, and she's like, yeah, that's pretty transparent. Can't figure it out. Got a bad machine, and it's not in warranty anymore, but we'll give you a 35% off coupon. And I thought, two machines that have broken in the last month, I think, sadly, you're an espresso girl is saying bye-bye, hello to a new era of coffee. So yeah, bummer. So I didn't have any good coffee this morning. Luckily I found this in my car. So I'm here to make a PSA and just share some other things that I've been having on my mind that I think might be helpful to other people out there. So hope you guys are doing well. First of all, my PSA has to do with, remember the Manhattan Short Film Festival that I went to last fall? I go to every year. It's basically a project where, I'm sorry, I just ate Indian food. It's like clearing out my lungs, which is like the point. Anyway, so it's this film festival that once a year, they have in theaters, these really cool independent movie theaters, a week of films that are international short films. And they're like meticulously curated. I mean, they're beautiful. They're always really high quality. And everybody, it sees the same films in a 1 week period at these theaters, and then you vote. It's this project that just happens 1 week out of the year, and everybody votes. So you are part of it. And the quality, like I said, I don't know if any of you remember, I talked about this one called Room Taken, about this guy that this homeless guy that started living in this blind woman's house. I mean, it was just one of those beautiful things I've ever seen. But it wasn't nominated. It won the gold for last year of the film festival, which didn't surprise me at all. But 3 out of that were nominated for Oscars out of the film festival from last year, but not that one. So that really surprised me. Anyway, they have added, in addition to the regular film festival that's held in theaters, they've added a online one that's happening right now. So you have till the end of this week to watch them. And we watched them last night and they were fantastic. So I'm not home right now, but when I get home, I will put that on my description down there so you know how to go. It's $12 for a ticket for everybody to watch it together. I've learned how to stream my laptop to my TV, so through Bluetooth, so that it's just like watching it on the TV. And it's just really beautiful films from different countries and very thought-provoking. And we noticed a theme in many of them where they just leave you on this sort of ... where you want to talk about it, or you want to think about it more, or what do you think that really was happening there? What do you think was going to happen next? And that seems to be kind of a theme like this. It's not, as my husband says, no Hollywood ending. They're not wrapping it up in a bow for you, which was intriguing. So I really recommend that. $12, money well spent. I like supporting this project. And then I got to go back today and vote. So on the best picture, and then they'll announce that next week. And it really does help them because, like I said, 3 out of the festival, and there's maybe only 7 that you screen. 3 out of it are Oscar nominees now. So there's that. I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting this Indian food to get me all phlegmy. Anyway, it's gross, sorry. But anyway, so next thing is, I imagine that I am not the only person that is feeling this sort of generalized unrest in the world. Obviously you see it and feel it everywhere. And, it's just, there's this sort of general waiting for the next shoe to drop. What's going to be the shoe, just general feeling of unrest, uneasiness. And so I want to say some things about that and maybe give some helpful suggestions about dealing with that. So the first thing is that if you find yourself waking up in the morning with this sort of internal, buzz that just feels uncomfortable, doesn't feel at ease, it's such a natural thing for the mind to go to, like, something must be wrong with me. It may not be that anything is wrong with you, just that you're just sort of generally picking up on this global sense of unrest that's happening right now. And so just kind of start with that. Like, you're not alone with that right now. And what happens when we get in that heightened nervous system state, we become things like hypervigilant and hyperreactive, and the mind is, constantly searching for a solution to a problem. So it's looking for problems. And so, things might get more exaggerated that otherwise you could shrug off, things like that when the nervous system is activated. So it's a good time to bring your focus to regulating and bringing down your nervous system to a more manageable state. Instead of like trying to figure out the whys and wherefores, I'm feeling this way, more what can I do about this to get myself back into a more regulated, more balanced state. So I'm going to talk about boundaries. What a surprise. But that is a mechanism that you can use to bring yourself back to that, a more regulated state. And when I talk about boundaries, I'm going to say it again, they're always on boundaries we set on and for ourselves. It's not you will not do this to me, or you will change in this way, or you will speak in that way, or whatever. It's, what am I going to allow around myself? What am I going to expose myself to? What am I going to engage with? Who am I going to engage with? Who am I going to allow input from? And being really discerning about that. So what I've been thinking about that this morning, I just had a little aha moment I wanted to share, which is that I think the hardest part of that boundary setting about being discerning, and for me, I'm like applying it to social media, I'm applying it to the true crime world, looking at things and being very bluntly realistic with myself and as objective as I can be on how much my involvement in certain activities is lifting me and how much is draining me, and to one end of the life that I want to create for myself. I'm just going to use true crime as an example, which I'm taking a good hard look at lately. Somebody said to me recently, Kathy, one thing about you is that you have had to live in the trial life almost your whole adult life. And that's true. It has ebbs and flows, but with the death penalty, it has never let me go. I'm 65, started when I was 29. So I am, by nature of the life that I have, embroiled in the true crime world my whole life to some degree or another. Right now it's pretty activated because of what's going on in Arizona. I have periods of like being able to step away. I have periods when it's active and then I set boundaries and I step away from it anyway. And I have periods that it drags me right into it. So, all of the above. But even when I'm stepping away from it, it never has gone away. So I was thinking this morning about steroids. And steroids, in nursing school, they taught us a lot about steroids. And I just found that whole subject really interesting. And how steroids are sort of like the great deceiver, because they're used like in very acute settings, like a burn victim or something that you have, or asthmatic. You have to use steroids to get the body like this big boost of healing, of really life-saving, But, they hammered into us in nursing school about how dangerous steroids are and how you have to be so discerning of when you utilize them and how much of them you utilize and how much of a dose and how long you give them to the patient, all that kind of stuff, because they might be effective in pulling somebody out of something, but they're also breaking you down at the same time and sort of tearing down various systems of your body at the same time. So it's like weighing the pros and cons of that and just being very discerning about how they're utilized. And I just was thinking about that this morning, about how, in my relationship with the true crime world, about how, on one hand, when you are affected by it personally, like I am, it's very common for people, like look at Kim Goldman. She started a a foundation dealing with victims' issues. Ruth Markel wrote a book. I'm writing a book. Many people write books. Ways to kind of, provide a contribution into the world. Doing activities that reach out and try to help other crime victims. This is a very common result of people like trying to give meaning to tragedy, a crime that has affected your life. And I'm no exception to that. And yet, in some cases, for me, in some cases, that becomes like the steroid thing, where on the front end, it feels like I'm doing something good. It feels like I'm, making some contributions that are helpful. It feels like I'm having some relief of like not having to carry this all by myself, and I can connect with other people, and people seem to care, and it's just sort of like a pressure valve, pressure cooker valve gets released, and so there's a relief. And at the same time, it's underneath that, like steroids, it's eroding at something in me. So I just have to I've had to had some come to Jesus with myself about my relationship there and how much I want to invest there. And then I look at other things in my life that I choose, that I'm not like drug into, that I've chosen to invest my energy, that are uplifting and joyful and soul filling for me. And how when I get too much into the true crime world, it just is consuming, and those things start to fall by the wayside. Like one example right now, this is one of the ways that I'm like sort of dealing with this just general unrest going on, is I bought like over 300 daffodil bulbs, and my goal was to plant them all at the front entrance of our community where we live, because I'm like the beautification committee. I like am that, I guess. So I was going to surprise everybody this fall and plant all these 300 daffodils. So in the spring, they'd all be coming up. Like, so you'd like be driving through this golden carpet of daffodils, and deer will leave those alone. So I bought them all, but then my whole fall changed when I was planning on planting them, and I wasn't up here because we got the puppy and just all this stuff happened. So I wasn't physically able to be here to plant them. And so they sat in the garage. And then by the time we got like some time, we got to get up there and plant them. It was all under a blanket of snow and the ground was frozen solid. So we just missed the window to plant these daffodils. And this life. So they've been sitting in the garage, which is good for bulbs because they stayed cold, But I just had this aha moment of, I have all these porch pots, and that we're also sitting in the garage from my various plants and flowers that I have out there. So my husband moved them all they're still inside the house, to the lower level of our house, and I planted all my daffodil bulbs in these pots that are just basically sitting there waiting for spring anyway, but the daffodils will come up early. And so I have like 300 daffodils that are going to come up in like a little farm I have downstairs in my house, that I will be able to fill my house with my own daffodil cut flowers for like a period of time, this spring when they come up, and they're already sprouting. I see this, like inch sprouts coming up from these. That brings me so much joy, you guys. And then I can still harvest the bulbs and do it next year, plant them all in where I intended to next year. So there's no loss. But like that kind of a project, having that kind of a creative project in an arena that is so uplifting to my soul is really important. And I have like 3 going on, and one is like really, really major that's going on right now in a planning stages, and a couple other ones. So that when I'm noticing that when I find myself, I find other thoughts, intrusive thoughts that are just not, they're just not uplifting. They're not, they're lower vibe, for lack of a better word. They're dragging down. Heavy things start to intrude. I have these channels that I can just switch to in my mind, and like very tangible things. Like I visualize my bulbs and think what I'm going to do with them. And I'm starting to visualize how I'm going to arrange them and, stuff like that. And I think about these other projects and like what it's going to look like and how things are coming together. And I'm noticing that the more I apply that kind of almost like a remote control in my own thought patterns, it's becoming sort of automatic. So these other kind of oppressive things, when they want to sneak in there and, you know, do the Debbie Downer thing, you got to have backups, to redirect the mind, to give it another focus. So I'm just hoping it's really important right now with all this going on, all this unrest. I mean, we see it all over the place. I'm also really limiting my social media, and because I find myself noticing I'm going on there and yeah, there's my flower content, then all of a sudden I click on a couple other things and then there's other like stuff that's I can feel that coming in, and it's like, okay, the boundary's on me. Click it off. Take it off the phone. Those things will be there. The urgency is to regulate the nervous system first. It is like putting the oxygen mask on yourself. And I guess I'm giving permission to all of us to just do that, to find ways to do that, to set boundaries on activities, engagements, focal points of your attention, people, and, just take a pause from things to focus on getting yourself regulated again. And then if and when, sometimes you take that pause and then you realize, yeah, I don't really want to go back to that. So, I mean, my husband has done that. He's almost off all social media and he's like, I don't miss it. He's finding other sources for engaging. He's writing letters to people and stuff instead of like posting on their Facebook. He's just changing in that way. It's inspiring. And so, the world starts to open up in a different way, but it's really up to us to do that. It's not up to anybody else to stop doing that. It's not in anybody else's locus of control. But the relief of that is that because it is in our locus of control, we can control it, right? There's a lot of things that we can't control right now, but we can control how we're feeding our nervous system. Hope this is helpful to somebody else. Hope this makes sense. It's all sort of making sense in my brain, and I just thought I'd put it out there. And I did order another coffee machine. I got a Ninja one, and I'm so excited about it because it will take pods and your own coffee, so you don't have to use just the pods. So I like that idea, so I'm going to give that a whirl. It was on Amazon for good sale, so I thought, okay. Bye-bye Nespresso. Hello, Ninja. All right, guys, hope you're doing well out there, and I will catch you again soon. Bye.